Hello. Happy, damn, I don't even know what day it is. Happy Saturday. Um, yeah, it is Saturday. Happy Saturday. I am trying to be a little bit more consistent with the lives, so I bought this little snazzy car holder thing because all the magnetic ones and the suction ones and everything else don't seem to jive with what I'm doing. I hope my audio is good. I wish somebody would join and let me know if y'all can hear me, but I got to start doing these a little bit more regularly, I guess, so that they pick up the appropriate algorithm or whatever. But anyway, I'm not trying to be on here long. I got some stuff I need to do, and I know I need to speak on some things, and I definitely need to speak on this situation right here. I don't know if people have been paying attention or heard about it, but there's a case right now going on in Detroit for a young lady who was missing since last year, January 9th, 2024, at 13 years old. A young black lady, Naziah Harris. Her story is I have not gotten into all of the details, but I've gotten enough, and the ones that I've avoided is because it just sounds like it's way too traumatizing, and I just I want to try to at least be able to talk about the subject from hopefully a healed place and not a super emotional reactive place. But Naziah Harris was clearly not cared for by anyone around her. So much so that she was convinced that this 41-year-old serial child rapist, predator, abuser, was the love of her life. At 13 years old, she thought this 41-year-old man was the love of her life. Jarvis Butts, who was the I guess the fiance or the baby's father of the aunt of the deceased girl or missing girl, because they haven't found her body yet. But the judge ruled that he will stand trial for murder, first degree murder, and a slew of other defenses for sexual misconduct with a minor child. Like, they got text messages going back to 2022 with this girl and this man going back and forth. Like I said, I didn't get into stuff, too much of those details, because I know that was gonna like really send me over, and it's already too much. Like, I've been losing some sleep thinking about this little girl, like, because so many people fail her. And like right now we're going through this CPS, potentially a strike with our Chicago public school system. The teachers union is asking for more money for counselors and other staff and aides. Her school, Naziah Harris's school, apparently had a counselor, and the day she went missing, January 9th, she basically ended up on the floor crying, like in a fetal position, trying to get somebody's attention that she needed something. The teacher knew she was acting erratically and testified to that, or told the police that, and then the counselor wasn't there or something, and then the person who was supposed to come in instead of the counselor didn't show up. So this girl, her last this is the part that's about to get me emotional. Her last defense against this monster, which was supposed to be the counselor, a trained professional in the school setting where we are supposed to protect these children, because we know in a public school, come on, it's 2025, we know in a public school that a lot of these children are lacking, everything, name it, okay? They don't have, this is about to make me mad. I'm trying not to get emotional, but they don't have the love, they don't have the guidance, they don't have basic needs, okay? I'm sorry. This right here, these the type of situations that I'm like, what are y'all out here doing? How are y'all out here living y'all lives day to day? You know, like nothing's going on, and it's stuff like this going on, and we're normalizing it. We're desensitized to it. How, as a counselor, do you see this child looking for help, needing help, and you don't even go try to figure out what's going on? Nobody follows up. Nobody pulls her out. Nobody tries to, remedy this. And it's like, so that was the last time y'all saw her. You gonna have to live with that. And I hope none of these people can sleep knowing that they were the last people that could have saved that girl's life. So ultimately, she was on the floor, and the person never came, the counselor never came. And so she just goes on and does what she knows to do, which is go get on the bus, go home, right? So I guess her and Jarvis had it planned out because she'd become pregnant. Okay, she'd been a couple months pregnant, I believe. And she and Jarvis had planned to meet up at the bus stop or something. And so I guess he ended up picking her up, according to his friend, who also testified and looked like he was in DOC, jumpers too. So he in jail for something similar or the same. I don't know. I got to figure all this out. It's a mess. But the friend, King or whatever, testified that he saw the little girl with him. He picked her up and she was in the truck, and he, thought it was odd, but he didn't do nothing to say nothing about it. They drove the girl out there to go drop a car off because they were working on cars. And this lady saw the girl. And so that places, Naziah with Jarvis as like the last time she was seen alive. And so it's just so many people who were involved that could have done something, asked a question, been like, this don't look right, and didn't do it. So when we talking about Chicago schools right now asking for money to help the children, to raise the standards and meet, get children up to the level where they should be, knowing that in a failed city, in a lot of failed homes, broken homes, all of the things that have been happening all these years, that they're going to need some extra help to get to a level to be able to compete. But what is it going to matter if you're going to hire a bunch of counselors that don't care? If you're going to have a bunch of people taking time off, and then you don't have the substitute counselor or whoever's supposed to be in there. If y'all already got all this money and y'all didn't spend it on the appropriate people. If your leadership decides to go out here and take a tone against people who criticize the union and their current budget demands, and then start calling them slow and saying they on IEPs and saying they in special ed, right? So you're going to use that as a insult to your critics, but you're supposed to be a teacher. When are we gonna see that if you can't stay consistent with your energy, then you're fake? Okay, so if you coming on Instagram and on TikTok, and on X, Stacey Davis Gates, and you calling people out their name, that you're not above doing that in a teacher setting. You're not above having your teachers treat the children like that. So again, my question is, where are we protecting the children? Because Naziah didn't get protected at school. She didn't get protected at home. She had a mother. She had a mother who was on drugs and out of the home. Her grandmother, Annette, was her adoptive parent, okay, who testified that Jarvis never came in the house, even though he was the father of multiple children of the of the aunt of Naziah. The judge even said, this is very questionable, ma'am. I read somewhere on TikTok, they said they found out that the grandma Annette was pregnant at 11. So she clearly this is generational trauma, right? But who gonna stop it? Okay, grandma's an adult. She signed off paperwork to care for her as an adult. So grandma has to protect that girl. If the aunt knew that man was a predator and she had all them kids with him and she was letting that niece around, she's guilty. She's just as guilty. If that grandma knew that man was a predator and she let her daughter have multiple babies in her home with him, and then expose the other children or grandchildren to him, she is just as guilty. We got to start looping up these pick-me's to be the monsters that they associate with. These weak people cannot protect our children. I am so afraid for the children. I'm telling you, they don't know how to talk to the children. They are afraid of the children. They are treated, and then like my daughter's school, they send out these blasts because they can't control one child. They now want to treat all the children. It's like communism. And it's like, are y'all going to school to learn how to talk to the children, to care for the children, to empathize with the children, to get the classrooms under control? Hell, y'all mad because the kids are on the phone all day. Well, where are the activities that they should be in that wouldn't allow for a phone to even be a thought? Like, y'all gotta, like, we're trying to parent and raise children in a society based on old models that they're not gonna hold up when we got every like side of corruption, all the facets of corruption coming against the children, coming against the families. Y'all gotta wake up. But my point, especially with these women, you cannot protect predators over your children or other people's children. How did we get here? Like, even I know this is more common than people like to think. I'm looking at the stories and I'm looking at people commenting on, Instagram and on TikTok about the Nazaya and on YouTube. And they're trying to act like this is so far removed from the Black community. Like this is so far removed from modern society. And it's like, nah, man, y'all really out here acting like y'all ain't. So go look up some of your ancestry charts. Go look up some of them birth certificates. I'm talking to my Black Americans. Go look at some of them birth certificates. And this may be happening in other communities, but I'm talking about mine, what I've seen. And go see the marriage licenses. And go see how, Willie had married a 15-year-old girl, had multiple children. And then when she died, Willie went and marry him another young girl. Willie now about 60, 70 years old. He gonna go get him another 18, 16-year-old. Please stop acting like, are y'all okay? This was going on. Just like when y'all was out here mad at the, the men talking about, modern women, I miss the old days. See, grandma and grandpa, they used to make it work. They used to work. Well, don't forget now, these was the youth marriages, okay? Sometimes they were of the same age, but a lot of times these older men were marrying very young girls, okay? So let's stop acting like this stuff is like we're so far removed from it. I could never. No, we're not that far. Maybe 2 generations, some of us, 2, 3 maybe, okay? But clearly Annette Harris and Nazaya Harris and that whole family has not gotten rid of that curse, has not tackled it. And somebody has to break the cycle. And it was not going to be Annette, clearly. It was not going to be Shannon, clearly. It was not going to be Nazaya. The CPS needs to come in there and take all of them kids up out of there. And I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. But my point is, there's a difference between a pick-me and being divine feminine. And we are so far away from that. And I hate that people think that because you want to attract a man or you want to be in the company of men and because you respect men and because you uphold the strong men in your community that now you're pick-me. No. Pick-me's uphold weak men. Pick-me's hold on to weak men. They squeeze tight. They will crawl, beg, go through the mud, sell their kids into bondage, okay? Sell their whole family up the river for a man, for a weak man, for any man. A divine feminine will do all sorts of things in alignment with herself and with her true nature, with her morality, to expand on what is deposited in her from the divine masculine. That's the difference. You being a pick-me is not just, this man, he's building things. Let me see how I can influence him, how I can help him. This, I've attracted, you know, these men into my life by being soft and welcoming and, you know, creating a home and cooking and cleaning and doing these things. That's not necessarily pick me. That's just being a woman. That's being a good woman if you're doing it for a good man, for a good cause. The pick me comes in is when you sell yourself out for dick. When you sell yourself out for male attention, when you sell yourself out to make the other girls look bad so you can feel better, when you sell the other girls out so you can feel better, that's the pick me. I don't know how we got here that women don't want to be women. Women don't want to protect children. Women don't want to care for the men around them that deserve it. But we got to get back to that, because that's the only way we're going to protect the children. You're not going to protect the children with weak men all around. You're not going to protect the children when you don't have a masculine, you know, guiding force in your home. When you don't look for those masculine guiding forces to lead your home and your environment. I'm all for women's liberation and women having equality, but we're not the same, and we're never going to be the same, and we weren't meant to be the same. I want men to be strong. I want men to be not necessarily unemotional, but to have the logic and to have the emotional fortitude and the foresight to be able to lead a home and not be emotional and reactive like a woman is. But a woman should be able to be emotional and reactive because that's her job. She's supposed to rise to the occasion. She's supposed to be emotionally reactive to her children and her man. She's supposed to sense their needs. And you can't do that if you're not in tune and emotional and reactive. You have to sense the needs of those who you love and care for. So that is when that pick me, stuff is out the window. You're not being a pick me when you're taking care of your family. But when you're trying to destroy other people, right, to lift yourself up, when you are negligent of your feminine responsibilities for the sake of attracting a weak male or weak male validation, that is the difference between a pick me and the divine feminine. So I say all that to say, I'm about to get off here because I'm getting hot and I gotta go do some stuff. But I say all that to say, I want to talk a little bit more about it. I definitely need to go back and look at Annette Harris's testimony, but she knew more than what she was saying. She knows that girl was involved, and I feel like there was a lot of jealousy amongst the aunt and the niece. I feel like Shannon was jealous of Naziah, and I feel like, see, people don't notice this, but there is a sense of jealousy that some women feel when one woman is being preyed on. Even if she's being preyed on, a woman can get R-worded and another woman can kind of like, and y'all can sit here and be like, that sound crazy as hell. Ain't no way. I'm telling you, I've heard these stories. I've lived these stories. I've gotten these testimonies from people. This is real life stuff. There are some women who will look at it like, well, he assaulted her. Why didn't he assault me? And you think it sounds fucking crazy, but it's real. And so I could totally see them setting her up for that. I've had women set me up to get R-worded. I am not effing lying. I've had that happen. Okay. So there's nothing that says that them women didn't intentionally place that girl in the path of this monster to be, taking advantage of, all for the fact that they wanted to keep him around. So you just laying out bait for him. This your own blood. And then he's having babies to further traumatize and victimize. So y'all sick. You the mama. You supposed to protect them children. I can't live in this world like that. And I'm not going to get off y'all neck until y'all wake up and realize that, this stuff about being a pick-me only applies if you're hurting yourself and the people you're supposed to protect. That's propaganda, when people just blanket go, oh, you would pick me because you're trying to tap into your feminine and do feminine things that uplift your community. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to use your softness and your grace to lead and build up the community. Stacey Davis Gates ain't doing that. She's using masculinity and destruction, and bullying, right? You look at a lot of these women on TV and a lot of these women in political positions right now. They're not divine feminine. So stop using that energy, stop diverting and back to the masculine, right? Because at the end of the day, when you divert back to the masculine, now you've completely put womanhood on the back burner. You've completely given us, really, like, taking us a whole step back and really putting more fuel on the fire of the patriarchy, I feel like. So, women, we really gotta tune into ourselves and not take the things that are going on in the world where they're trying to make us feel like, we gotta have a man or die. Because I'd rather be alone than feel like, and